As we kick off 2026, the state of artificial intelligence is, well, it's a massive contradiction. On one hand, you've got this incredible financial hype, these amazing new gadgets. But on the other hand, a pretty harsh reality of projects failing left and right, and this wave of legal challenges on the horizon. So let's unpack what's really going on here.
I mean, just look at these numbers. The market is saying the top AI companies are worth $500 billion. That's an astronomical figure. And yet, at the very same time, reports are coming out showing that a staggering 95% of corporate AI projects are failing. They're not even making it out the door. So, how can both of those things be true at the same time? That's really the central question we're going to dig into.
And this quote, I think, really hits the nail on the head. It's from a legal forecast for this year, and it says, if 2024 was the year of AI hype, 2025 was the year of AI accountability. That perfectly captures the shift, right? The whole era of just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks, that's over. 2025 was the year everyone started having some tough conversations about the consequences. And now, here in 2026, that talk is turning into real action. The age of accountability is officially here. All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the hype, the money, and the breakthroughs. Then we'll dive into the reality of the flaws and failures. After that, we'll cover the reckoning, which is all about the new laws coming into play. And finally, we'll look at what's next, physical AI.
Okay, so let's start with part one, the hype. And really, to get a sense of just how massive this is, you have to follow the money. The amount of capital flowing into AI has been absolutely historic, and it's created this explosion of innovation that we're now starting to see in all sorts of consumer products.
Yeah, the dominance of AI in the investment world is just undeniable. In 2025 alone, we're talking about $425 times billion in venture capital pouring into this one sector. That's a 30% jump from the year before. But here's the kicker, the number that really tells the story. That represents nearly half of all global venture capital. Think about that. AI isn't just a slice of the tech economy anymore. For investors, it practically is the tech economy. And all that cash has created this new class of what you might call supergiants. We're seeing valuations that just dwarf many established, profitable companies that have been around for decades. You've got OpenAI at $500 billion, xAI pushing past $200 billion. This isn't just about funding cool ideas anymore. This is a massive concentration of capital and power that puts immense influence over our future in the hands of just a handful of companies. So where does all that money actually end up? Well, if you looked at the Consumer Electronics Show, CES, this year, you saw it translate directly into some pretty futuristic products. I mean, we're talking AI-powered anime holograms for your desk, smart Lego bricks that can tell which character you're using, and of course, more and more autonomous robotaxis and personal rideables becoming mainstream. There were even ultrasonic knives for the kitchen. This is the public-facing side of the boom, right? It's tangible, sometimes a little bizarre, but it's undeniably real tech making its way into our lives. Okay, but now we have to pivot. Let's move away from the dazzling hype and into a much messier reality. Because for all the money and all the cool new products, the core technology is riddled with some deep, persistent problems, and they're getting harder and harder to ignore. And this number from an MIT Media Lab report really is the anchor for this whole section. 95%. That's the failure rate for corporate AI projects last year. Now, personal tools like ChatGPT, sure, they're everywhere. But we're talking about the big, enterprise-grade systems for core business functions, and they're being quietly shelved. Companies are spending billions, and only 5% of these projects ever see the light of day. So you have to ask, why? Well, it's a mix of things. Poor data quality, the nightmare of trying to integrate with old systems, and just the fundamental unreliability of the tech when you need it for something mission-critical. And a core technical issue here is a concept that really took hold in 2025, jagged intelligence. It's a great term. It basically describes this bizarre paradox with today's AI. A model can, say, draft a super complex patent application that would take a lawyer hours. But then, in the next breath, it'll confidently tell you a bowling ball is lighter than a feather. It's that unpredictability, that jagged edge between genius and nonsense that just fundamentally erodes trust. And look, this isn't just some abstract technical quirk. This jagged intelligence has serious real-world consequences.
We saw it when the US Health Department's AI started citing medical studies that literally didn't exist, or when Google's AI overviews repeated April Fool's jokes as if they were scientific facts. And then there was the Friend wearable. It had a massive ad campaign, over $1 million, all about curing loneliness. But people widely rejected it, saying it actually made them feel more lonely. It became this poster child for AI that just doesn't get at a real human need.
So, when you have these kinds of high-profile failures, combined with that underlying unreliability, well, it leads directly to the next phase, the reckoning. That legal vacuum that allowed AI to develop so fast for so long, it's being filled, and fast. Governments are stepping in, and they're starting to demand accountability. And this isn't some far-off theoretical thing. It's happening right now. On January 1st of this year, new AI laws in California and Texas became enforceable. Just a couple weeks later, the UK's big law against non-consensual deepfakes went into effect. And with Colorado's AI Act coming this June, well, companies aren't just talking about compliance anymore. They're facing hard, concrete deadlines. Here in the US, because there hasn't been any big federal law, what we're getting is this patchwork of different state laws. You've got California demanding transparency about what data these models are trained on. Then you have Texas, which is banning AI that could incite self-harm or discrimination. And Utah's saying you have to disclose any time a consumer is interacting with an AI. You can see how this creates a really complex, tricky legal landscape for any company trying to operate across the country. The UK's approach with their deepfake law is really worth paying attention to, mainly because of its scope. It doesn't just go after the person who creates or shares the harmful image. No, it targets the entire supply chain. It holds the platforms accountable and even the companies that make the AI tools themselves. And that's a huge philosophical shift. It extends legal responsibility way beyond the individual user to the whole ecosystem that makes this stuff possible in the first place. So where does all this leave us? Well, we've got a technology that is simultaneously super hyped, fundamentally flawed, and now increasingly regulated. So what's the next logical step for the industry? It seems to be moving beyond the screen, beyond the cloud. The big push now is to embed this intelligence directly into the physical world all around us. And this isn't just a prediction. This trend is already taking shape. You've got new processors like Intel's Panther Lake with AI integrated right at the chip level. We're seeing household robots that can finally handle complex things like stairs, which could be a game changer. There are brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs, ramping up production for thousands of implants. And of course, self-driving vehicles and personal electric transport are becoming more and more common. The point is, AI is no longer just something in the cloud. It's moving into our homes, our cars, and potentially even our bodies. And this really brings us to the final and I think most critical question. We're about to integrate this technology with all its power, all its known flaws, and all its unpredictability into the physical systems we depend on for our safety. So the challenge ahead isn't just about software anymore. It's about how we manage the risks and rewards of an AI that can actually touch, move, and interact with our world. How do we balance that drive for innovation with the absolute need for protection? That's the question we all have to grapple with as we move into this next phase.